So a couple of days ago, Saturday, something happened at night. I think around 11 o'clock, and I think it probably happened to a lot of you as well. A certain clip started getting circulated on the social media, and the clip was of a certain encounter in UP. And at first, I thought it was the encounter of Ahmed, that 19-year-old criminal who was shot to death a day before. But then I realized that, hey, this is not the same guy. This is a different person. This is Atiq Ahmed. Then I thought to myself, Asad Ahmed, Atiq Ahmed, are they related? Because, I don't care about politics. I'm mostly interested in history and civilizational issues. Local politics I'm not really interested in. So I went to Google and I typed Atiq Ahmed, and what did I see? Former member of the Lok Sabha. A former member of the Lok Sabha was shot to death on live television in UP. Oh my God, the state of law in this country. That's what I would have thought if I was a left-leaning person, or if I was studying in JNU. But since I'm not, and since I'm a rational person, I thought, let's do some research. Let's read some news. Let's see what's happening. So I went to Google News, and what did I see? A former Indian MP shot dead. Atiq Ahmed, brother, shot dead on live TV. Live murder on TV. Former Indian lawmaker, that's CNN. Former Indian lawmaker killed live on TV while in police custody. Goodness gracious me, I would have said, if I was a British person or Jawaharlal Nehru. Even BBC put a video of Atiq Ahmed, his last moments before the former Indian MP is shot live on TV. Although I don't recall hearing his name before, suddenly this person was very important for me. He had the utmost importance in my life. I just had to find out what is happening. How is this big law and order problem suddenly happening in Uttar Pradesh? When everybody keeps telling me that things are so amazing in UP, the industry, the economy, the safety of women, the safety of the people of the state. Everybody says it's amazing, but here you have BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera. They're telling me that the law and order is terrible because a respected former Indian MP, Mr. Atiq Ahmed, has been shot live on television. Not acceptable. So as anybody would do, to do further research, I went to social media. Everybody's favorite news portal, Twitter. So I went to Twitter, and what do I see? Al Jazeera, BBC, France 24, as if anybody cares about them, Reuters, all of them saying the same thing. Former Indian lawmaker and brother shot dead on live television. At this point, I was fearing for my safety. I quickly got up, shut all my doors and windows, and my bathroom doors and windows, and my kitchen doors and windows, shut all the lights, went under the blankets, hid myself, because the law and order situation in this country is terrible, terrible, absolutely pathetic. All these tweets, all these news reports had me super scared. I did not know what to do, so I decided to do some more research. And just then, Twitter recommended me some extra tweets and extra information that I could possibly explore and get to know a little bit more about this certain subject. And what do I see? Shero Shairi, snarky remarks, whatever this is. And of course, this person with sunglasses who is so important that he has official in his name, he says, one expects murders to happen in Afghanistan or Somalia, not in our beautiful India. Because ever since India has existed, for these people, that is 1947, not a single murder has happened. Not on his watch, not possible. Or as the Italians would say, non è possibile. Under the watch of this person who has official in his name and who wears sunglasses all the time, murders cannot happen. And 4.4 thousand people agreed with him. If you go by the number of likes and shares, I'm ignoring the replies because that's probably a lot of people making fun of him. But nonetheless, how can a murder happen in India, that also on live television? Not acceptable, my friend. This is not the Achhe Din that I was promised. And my concerns went to a whole different level when I saw this tweet by this prominent politician. Oh my God, the killer was sitting in a room with a minister who possibly attends thousands of meetings every year and is probably in the presence of lakhs of people, and one of them was the killer. Do we need any other proof? This is state-sanctioned murder. And as these thoughts were going in my mind, I came across this tweet. This seemingly refined gentleman who likes using obscenities in a first sentence, probably was ignored a lot as a child. He says, in a half-decent democracy, he had me at half-decent democracy, my blood pressure went up 300 points. And I was just sure that even the blanket under which I was hiding and sweating would not be able to keep me safe. And after reading his tweet, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to be an Indian, embarrassed to be a Hindu, embarrassed as a country. Yes, I suddenly became a country. And if there was even little doubt remaining in my mind that this was a state conspiracy, I saw this e-flyer talking about a candle march against the police brutality for these two brothers who were shot on live television by some assassins. And of course, we know that every time there's a candlelight vigil, it is a serious thing. The person had to be a good person, right? If somebody is taking out a candlelight vigil for you, you have to be a good person. And it is being taken by the Raza Islamic Mission, a social and religious organization. They're not just religious, mind you, they're also social. And they're taking out this candle march in Ramganj Bazaar and Islampur district. Could you be any more secular? But being the leftist, apologetic Indian that I was in that moment, I had to go and see what the world was saying about this particular incident. Because you know, a Nehruvian Indian always cares about what the world has to say. And then I saw this tweet from our neighbors, and I felt so embarrassed. They were thankful. In spite of the poverty, in spite of the violence, in spite of the hunger, the bad economy, and the terrorist groups running amok in that country, they were thankful that they had Pakistan. Because in India, Muslim politician. Now you gotta pay attention. He's not just a politician anymore. He's a Muslim politician. Shot dead in front of media and police in UP, India, a state that is run by BJP. And just then, when I was at my lowest point as a apologetic Indian, drowning in a sea of embarrassment, this tweet came onto my timeline, which told me that Atiq Ahmed wasn't just a politician and a Muslim. He was Robin Hood and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was a character who helped the poor people. He paid for weddings, school uniforms. Can you believe the guy paid for school uniforms? He gave money during Eid. But alas, such a charitable person, a man of God, or rather a man of Allah, had to face accusations of heinous crimes. My report for BBC India. Oh, so that's why she has the BBC in her name. I thought something else. He was such a good guy that a online publication like The Print covered his funeral. Dreaded gangster, now a nobody. Subdued burial for Atiq. Only his minor sons attended. His wife couldn't be there. He was such a good guy that the residents of his colony were upset that they could not see him one last time. They should have at least allowed us to offer a last namaz for him, said one guy whose name was Badshah. Now Badshah saying it, so must be right. You can imagine my plight, my state of mind. As a budding intellectual, I could not believe that this was happening in my own country, that the law and order was in such a terrible state. And while I was wallowing in my misery, contemplating these thoughts, cursing everything and everyone, a thought suddenly entered my mind. I thought. Because, you know, if you have to think deep thoughts, they have to start with, So I thought, Few days ago, there was a gangster, a criminal, by the name of Aditya Rana, who was encountered by the Uttar Pradesh police, much like they encountered Atiq Ahmed and his son. But if you go through the reports of Aditya Rana's shooting, it's a regular report. A criminal got killed. There's no mention of his religion or that he was a good person or a bad person. If he was a Robin Hood or a Darth Vader, nothing's said about him. Or rather, And just then another thought came into my mind. About 6 months ago, there was another shooting like this in Punjab. And I remember what the Independent wrote about it. Radical Hindu leader shot dead in full public view in India. Another report by the BBC. Radical Hindu religious leader shot dead in Amritsar. Interesting. And all of a sudden, it seemed to me that perhaps, just perhaps, the media has double standards when it comes to reporting these incidents. Because I think, and I'm not sure, you tell me, have you ever read a headline that says, Radical Muslim leader shot dead, or Radical Muslim leader did something? Even when it is a terrorist, like the guys who did Pulwama or Burhan Wani, when he was killed, I remember the media running this narrative of him being the son of a teacher, and a big attempt was made to whitewash him. I don't recall any such things being done for a Hindu criminal or a Hindu gangster. Not that I think it should be done. I think criminals should be presented as is. It does not matter what your religion or where you're from, what you do. The truth about a criminal has to be told. But still the media keeps on whitewashing these guys. The son of a teacher, the son of a farmer. And in this case, a Muslim politician who was Robin Hood has been killed. Suddenly it seemed to me that a narrative was being set. But what kind of narrative was being set? Because Atiq Ahmed wasn't just a politician, because it doesn't take long for somebody, if you're researching this topic, to figure out that this guy was a gangster. And not just a normal local gangster. This guy was a big gun. He had, I think, about 160 cases against him. This guy was worth 11,000 crore rupees. That's a big amount. And I came across stories of when this guy won the elections, he led a caravan of 1,000 cars throughout the city in celebration. And just days ago, when his son was encountered by the UP police, he gave a threat to them. He said, "I'll show you when I come out." This is the guy that the whole ecosystem, the Marxist media complex, is trying so hard to defend. This is a guy who killed his own mentor, a guy who admitted that he had links with Lashkar-e-Taiba and ISI. And yet all of these guys, they're defending him? What kind of narrative are they trying to set? And as I read more and more about this, it became quite clear to me. If you look at the reports, there was a certain theme that was being followed in all of them. And the theme centered around Hindu and Hindutva. Just take a look at this report from the New York Times. You don't have to read it, just take a look at the keywords. Militarized Hindu right wing, Adityanath, Hindu interests, or this report, which openly talks about a certain Hindutva battle cry. Well, if somebody had to give a battle cry, wouldn't they say Har Har Mahadev? Because that at least has been traditionally used as a battle cry. But even then, not for a murder. Or you can see this report from the National Herald, which openly talks about Hindutva, written by Muhammad Asim Khan. And through the article, he's very generously spread keywords such as Hindu supremacy and Hindutva brigade. This narrative was becoming quite clear to me that a certain pro-Muslim, anti-Hindu narrative is being set. With the national elections scheduled for the next year, this is to be expected, that the forces who do not want to see a prosperous India, and there are many of them, would absolutely try and exploit this fault line. And it seemed to me that this is what they were doing here. Take a look at this tweet. Everybody's talking about the Hindu identity of the assassins. A lot of emphasis was being put on that. And the second point of discussion was that the Muslims are not safe in India. And this coming from a Pakistani, a country where Muslims and anybody else are actually not safe. The point was being stressed again and again, and it was clearly meant to enrage the Indian Muslims into doing something radical, and it was also meant to make the Hindus feel guilty. We should somehow feel bad for a bunch of assassins doing what assassins do. And to say that the Muslims in this country are in danger just because a couple of bad guys were killed by another couple of bad guys, it's just stupid. And to expect all the Hindus to feel apologetic or guilty about this is idiotic. But the narrative was set, and the narrative was being spread. The video of the shooting shows that Muslims are being targeted in a systematic way under the supervision of the Hindu government. India has more Muslims than Pakistan. And yet, these guys are saying that the Muslims are being targeted in a systematic way by the government. Do these guys not think before tweeting? But then again, she's a Pakistani, and Pakistani national pastime is to talk like an idiot. But the narrative seemed to work. There were plenty of Muslims who came on social media and wrote some very violent things that they were going to do. There were plenty of Hindus also apologizing for something that they have no need to apologize for, putting the Yogi government under a lens when they have done a fantastic job. And it's not just from a Hindu point of view. There are plenty of videos on YouTube you can go and see. You can search them and see when Hindus, Muslims, anybody who lives in UP is praising the Yogi government. He has indeed made a very dangerous place very safe for everybody. So the narrative did succeed to an extent. And I have no doubt this will continue till the day of the elections. And facts do not matter to these narrative guys. It does not matter to these guys that an inquiry team has been set up. They are going to investigate this whole incident and come out with their report. It does not matter to them that such committees have to follow a certain system. Everything has to be put on paper. Things can't just be made up in thin air. But I can bet none of these guys are going to cover this report when it eventually comes out, because it probably will not suit their narrative. The narrative of this imaginary violence against the Muslims and of this Hindutva brigade. In fact, I don't even think they know what Hindutva means. I think when they start harping about this Hindutva, they can't even pronounce that. I think they think it's some sort of a fight club, some sort of a underground secret society where all the Hindus gather and sharpen their swords and plan all sorts of violent things that they're going to do. It is just idiotic. So if you're a leftist or a Pakistani, or any one of the radicals who are listening to this, Hindutva just means being Hindu. That is the most basic definition of it. And anything beyond this, anything deeper than this, you leftists or you mullahs do not have the intellect or the consciousness to understand. This Atiq Ahmed incident is a great chance for the mullah Marxist complex to set a certain narrative, to exploit it, to further solidify the fault line that has existed in our country for a very long time. For most people, it's just a viral video, but the biggest impact of this will be on the people of UP, and especially the people who have suffered in the past due to the actions of this evil, vile man. And I think it is those people that will be feeling redeemed today. This is the presentation for today. I hope you liked it, and please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it if you can, and if you have any feedback, any comments at all, do not hesitate to print them downstairs or send me a message, whichever way you like. Till the next time I see you, Jai Hind.